This slide basically acknowledges the trademark and service marks of Carnegie Mellon and also our own. What I want to start off is with this preamble to set the context for this webinar. I don't know if many of you heard about Peter Kostenbaum. If not, I suggest that you do look him up on the net because I think he's onto something. He's asking the basic big questions, what we call the existential quandaries of life. What attracted me to him is that he's asking these in the business context. And as he says here, as you can see, he says, don't think of business as a life without greatness. And he goes on to talk about how we need to address these distant goals of meaning, greatness, and destiny, and so on. But fundamentally, what he's talking about is that what does it mean to be a successful human being? And to ask that question not just in our personal lives, but also in our business, professional life, that context. And I can't say it any better than what he's got here, the last sentence down there. Nothing is more practical than for people to deepen themselves. So I start out with this just as a notion that when you go to these conferences or seminars, I hope you go in there not with an idea of getting some quick and dirty way, like in our context here, just to get to the next same amount of maturity level, but to actually understand about how you can really make an impact in your organization, and so therefore deepen yourself. The other thing that fundamentally I think we should be asking ourselves, which is kind of what Peter Kostenbaum tried to address, is whatever happened to this notion of having fun in business, the fun part of being in business. So keep that thought at the back of your mind as we go through this webinar today. My topics are these. I start out with a little bit about level setting, talk about the relationship between quality and schedule, and also I'll talk a little bit about how we make commitments for delivering our products and services and the fact that it's anything but rational the way we do that, and talk a little bit about this definition of insanity, which I'm sure you heard of, but I give a different twist to it about malpractice. Then I want to talk about the common myths about goals and measurements and some facts as other people like Dr. Deming and Watts Humphrey who will address that. And then I'll get into the real topic here, which is the disconnect that seems to exist between top management, C-level people in an organization, and the process community, the software engineering process groups. And we're going to talk about two specific methods, the Balanced Scorecard and the goal question metrics. But I will want to caution you about one thing. These are two things that we used that helped us in this whole notion about achieving business objectives through process improvement. The focus is really not on the specific method. That's not that important. You may want to use some other things if it works out better for you. But what the takeaway for you is just the notion of how do you connect process improvement to business objectives and how we use the Balanced Scorecard. And we'll talk a little bit about that and then the goal question metrics. Then I'll talk a little bit about what really happened in our organization with the software engineering process group, the role that we got them to play in this, and give you some real examples and the actual results that we have achieved, and share some lessons learned with you. I will make one assertion, and I'll ask if everybody agrees with that. And the assertion is that quality is more important than schedule. And please listen to that carefully. What I'm saying is quality is more important than schedule. And I have a quote here from my guru, Watts Humphrey, who, by the way, most of you may know was the original creator of the capability maturity model. And what Watts is talking about here is that in today's software marketplace, our focus is on cost, schedule, and functionality. And the thing about quality sort of gets lost there. And the point is that is sort of unfortunate because when we miss our schedule and our cost goals, most of the time it happens because of poor quality performance. So when I make an assertion, quality is more important than schedule, and ask how many people agree with it, typically, and I ask people to show hands in a live talk, and it turns out about half would agree and the other half will not. And those people that don't agree with it, what I would like to point out to you is that when you do go back to your organization, take a look at where your software teams are spending their time in software development. And chances are it would be mostly in testing and reworking. And fundamentally, when we get into test with poor quality and trying to add quality on through testing, we find that that's become somewhat unpredictable, and it is the root cause of our cost and schedule problems. The next thing I want to talk about is this whole business about making commitments. And I'm sure if this thought hasn't crossed your mind, maybe we may want to think about this. Why do software professionals who are competent, smart people, they agree to delivering something by a certain date when they have no idea how they're going to meet that? Or also, on the other side of it, managers who are otherwise successful and who manage rationally, but they accept these commitments from their teams and their engineers, which is more like a vague promise, and without no real evidence as to how these teams are going to meet the commitments. So our belief is that if we really want to achieve lasting improvement in software cost and schedule performance, we ought to start here, which is to change the way we go about making commitments. And we need to change the behavior of both the engineering professional people that actually are building the products and also the managers. And if you come to a class that I teach called Personal Software Process for Engineers, PSP, is a 10-day course. And these engineers come to it, and for 10 days I make them say this. And every day, every morning that they come into this class, and I'll put this up there, and I will say it, and they will have to repeat it. And I like for you, even though I can't see or hear you, sort of repeat this after I say it, so that you have an understanding of what it is that we're trying to do here. So when somebody asks you to do something, and say, I wanted it last Tuesday, which is typically how they would phrase it, and as a responsible team member, here's what you should say. I understand your requirements. I understand your requirements. I'll do my utmost to meet it. I'll do my utmost to meet it. But until I make a plan, I cannot responsibly commit to a date. So this is the way we want the engineers to behave going forward. And when I do that, the engineers tell me, well, that's fine. It's not me, it's my managers. And I tell them, aha, I also have a 3-day class for the managers. And when they come to it for 3 days, this is what I make them do every day. And you can repeat after me. So when the managers have what appears to be a deadline that doesn't look like it's very easy to meet, and here's what we want them to do to work with their teams. And they should say to the team, I trust you to create an aggressive and realistic plan, I'll review the plan, but I will not commit you to a date, that you cannot meet.